Welcome to the Pimp My Setup highlights for episode number 132. The first setup was submitted by David. I was like, at first I'm like, yo, David knows what's up. And then I'm like, okay, David doesn't quite know what's up. It's just an empty hollow desk with LEDs, and I don't know, maybe he's got some personal memorabilia up in that, but I don't know what's inside. But I feel like the usability is a little weird with the monitors. You know, first off, the speakers are just in very odd spot. Definitely not ideal by any means. Sitting at the part that he's at, the keyboard, the mouse, that's in a good spot. But I feel like the monitors are just weird and they're like super far away. I don't necessarily understand what the purpose of this desk was. David scored a 68. The next setup was submitted by Morgan. Easy way to fix it though is definitely to just have it go against that beam so that we're not seeing that bundled up cable. You can combine the two so at least they're going down in one easy line. Looking at the rest of your setup, pretty damn good. Not a big fan of sort of how like the monitor is so high up, but I think if I was sitting there, it would make a little bit more sense. Morgan scored a 78. The next setup was submitted by Jake. Really like what you're going for here. I could see that you want to keep things simple. You got your candles, you can really set in that mood. You got your cool posters and everything. I think it's great. I think you really kind of just hit the nail on the head, and it's affordable. People don't understand to have an awesome setup doesn't mean you need to spend a lot of money. Everything seems to be super usable. I mean, yeah, you get a headphone stand. Maybe you can kind of rearrange the MIDI keyboard and stuff. Maybe that's not the best spot for it, and that's nitpicking. The underside, good job. That's the great way of using, that's the best way to use the IKEA Signum, is put a power strip in there and really just keep all those cables going down the leg on the right side. Jake scored an 88. The next setup was submitted by Gustav. This thing is beautiful. So the desk is just unique, and I really like how it looks. Your shelf above, do I like seeing keyboard and headphone boxes and, you know, other peripheral boxes? Not really, but it's not over the top. With that calyx shelving, it really looks pretty damn cool, and it's separated, and yeah, I think it's cool. Gustav scored a 90. The next setup was submitted by Leon. The flash caused all those like gray blotches on the wall to show up. Do I believe him? The blue accent, you might as well just repaint the walls, because I'm not a big fan of that. The setup itself, amazing. You know, it's running off a laptop. That's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with the placement of it. But the MacBook, I think that was kind of like a weird spot for it. It's said that I don't like the outside part of the setup, and that's really the only thing I had a problem with. But the rest of the setup, dude, beautiful. Leon scored at 90. The next setup was submitted by Ralph. It's beautiful. Wire management. Look at that loom coming out of the PC. Look at the wire molding on the bottom. Great. But now I feel like he's at that point where he's got so many cool little knickknacks that it's almost overwhelming. If you look at that first photo, it's just like, holy crap, dude. Like, your desk is really packed to the max. You know, yeah, you can argue that all of these things are used on a daily basis, but I just feel like now this, what was supposed to be a simplistic, straight to the point, beautifully themed setup is now kind of, you know, I keep saying it, but overwhelming. It really, it's just a little too much for me. But overall, again, amazing score was given. It just looks a bit overwhelming, to say the least. Ralph scored a 92. The next setup was submitted by AJ. Takes pride in his cable management very much. I mean, yeah, look at that shit. Like, I mean, how do you, those desks, I mean, are just awful to cable manage, and you must just be God. I think 2 is a little overkill, if anything. Get it? Overkill. If anything, I would definitely kind of, because first of all, I don't get how the artwork on one side's like up higher or whatever, but dude, pull a page from Mars Bar setup, mount that shit on the wall and put LEDs in it. I don't know if the right display is really like super easy to use, but it seems like you're more focused on, here's my primary display, this is where I play my console games, this is where I have a good time, and then that corner one is only when I have like extra stuff up like chat and things like that. But AJ scored at 90. The next setup was submitted by Bryce. Speakers, they're kind of like just blocks, so there's really no point to it. It's going to bounce off the back of the monitors, hit off the wall, bounce off there. It's just not going to sound that good. And you know, everything else though, the receiver part, is that the best spot for it? No. Is it going to work? Sure. I like that everything's managed going into it. It seems very nice in that regard. but it should be mounted to the underside of the desk. And with a desk like this, you should be able to do it, no problem at all. It's not enough room, surprisingly, considering what you're working with. You got to kind of clean up the desktop, get rid of like the controllers and stuff, put it in a different spot. But the underside is just like really packed. You got your Xbox there, and then it looks like you have shelving off to the side that's packed as well. Bryce scored a 62. The final setup was submitted by Zachary CSGO, thing with the tilted everything, the headphones all over the place, the usability, wire management is just, oh my god, clean it. You're in like a little tight corner, which I thought was really interesting. Like you're really packed in there, and if you look, the PC is half in, half out. Go to the last photo. The PC's like, hey everybody, how's everybody doing? You go to the next photo, and it's like, hey, I'm still in here too. So like he's in both rooms doing what he's got to do. And I don't know, the left side looks like you need to kind of clean everything up a little bit. Focus on the cable management. Make it so your microphone is super easy to use. Make it so that, you know, everything's not at a weird angle. Zachary scored a 66. Ralph walked away with first place, getting a 92. Thanks for watching the Pimp My Setup highlights for episode number 132.